I'm sitting down with my buddy Adam Wayland, and he is one of those guys that has been a lifetime friend since childhood. And Adam is one of the coolest dudes I know. I reached out to him because I really want him to tell his story to the Head Kick Radio listeners here. And I know you guys are going to enjoy this conversation we're about to have because he is one of the most badass people I've ever known in my life. And like, I've literally known him since we were 3-4 years old, at least, whenever we started playing sports together and going to school together in kindergarten, T1 or whatever it was when I met you. It was back in the day. But Adam is an Army Sniper and just turned 30, so he's still a young buck.
Just hit it. Big 3-0.
Adam, my friend. Tell the
you really talked me up right there. Dude, I appreciate that.
I wish I had a better intro. Like, usually I come throwing heat.
No, you did. You killed it, man. Just for the everybody to know that I'm really not that badass. Just done a couple things in my day.
Dude, you're lying to the listeners.
I'm not. They'll get to learn real fast about me.
I don't know, dude. So we just had dinner, and Adam was telling some of the coolest stories to my dad and I, because I know my dad was enjoying it because I could just look over at him, and it's kind of hard to get my dad sometimes to be quiet, but he was listening.
Well, I think your dad likes the gun stuff.
Oh, my dad's.
I think you're a big gun guy, so I think he enjoys that.
Huge gun guy. Like came into town, and first thing we did was go shoot guns today at the range.
You got to do that. It's Oklahoma, so you got to go out and shoot. Yeah, when I was building this house, I had to put a safe in the house, and I had to make sure that the floor could hold my gun safe. That was my biggest thing.
See, Dad is worried about his, and he's been in his place for like 12 years, his little shack, and he's like, man, he goes, when we get that gun safe out of there, he's like, it might break the walls down or the floor.
Whenever we moved in this house, I was like, I got to put my gun safe in here, so I'm going to have to, when we're going to build a shop, I'm going to have to move the gun safe from here, because I don't even have all my guns here at my house.
Dude, so let's start with that. So Adam has rebuilt this house that we're in right now, and it is a nice house. I wish we had some cameras going for you listeners. This is a nice place. Adam, explain like some of this process.
Well, the house was built in 1906, and it was family that owned it, and it's been sitting for quite a while. Whenever I got out of the Army, I moved back over here, and it's been sitting, and I kind of wanted to make a decision. I always wanted to build the house by myself. Like, this has always been a childhood dream of mine, is just build a house up. And this was the closest thing I could get to it. And, I had a whole bunch of contractors come in here and talk to me about this. And they're like, you need to wipe it out. Just tear it down and build a new one. But I wanted to keep the old, heritage of the house. I wanted to keep that. And so I kept the outside walls, but I literally tore everything out of this house. Because it was like, back in the day, it was 2 electrical wires ran in the attic, like with leather as insulation. And it was just 2 wires ran down here. And I do not understand how the house didn't burn down. The gas was leaking so bad in the house, they had to turn the gas off because it was just constantly spewing out. So I don't know how the house didn't burn down.
I'm glad you didn't light a match.
Dude, it was rough. It was rough. It was long. It took me 7 months. And that's while working full-time and going to school full-time. So I was just literally going to work, go to school, come home, work on this house. And it took me 7 months.
Being a family man.
And while having 2 kids, or half of it was 1 kid, a 5-year-old, and then just having a newborn. Yeah, it was a rough one.
Dude, you see, you're the ultimate badass. Like, it doesn't get any better than that.
I just try and
defend this country, and then you come home, you help your family, you build a house, you go to work, you better yourself, you go to school.
Yeah, you always got to be improving yourself. You can't just stay stagnant. You won't get better. No. And then that's people get they just start living their lives and not moving forward, and that's just not the way you're supposed to live your life. And people say you can't live a life with kids, but you can. You just got to take your kids with you on whatever you want to do.
I think that's the way a kid should grow up, is learning like how adults do things too. Like
and they have to learn to entertain themselves. They have to learn how to play. We have 1 TV in the house, and that's it. My daughter doesn't have a TV, she's 5. Most people, at that age, they have like cell phones or something. It's like
you got cell phones, iPads.
Yeah, it's nuts. And we don't do any of that. We don't have video games. I want to live a simple life.
Yeah, when we were kids, I'm sure our parents put us underneath the fan, and we had to watch the ceiling fan for entertainment.
Oh, we had to play baseball, or we were playing catch or something.
We had to go outside and break things.
Dude, Yeah.
Did we not have the best childhood in the history of childhoods?
I mean, compared to I had a great childhood. I've lived, and I had 2 older brothers. Learned from their mistakes, and I got to play with them and had a bunch of friends. So I mean, I think we all got along really well, and it was a great childhood. I loved it. Don't remember a lot of it.
You don't remember a lot? See, I thought that. I was like, man, I don't remember a lot of my childhood. But the more and more I think about it, I think of all like these crazy stories. And I was actually thinking of one the other day when I reached out to you again, because I think it's been 7 years. Like, I'll let the listeners know. I think it's been 7 years since I've seen you.
Yeah.
I've been a bad friend. I haven't stayed in touch.
Bro.
Only like 3
life
people
moves
back
on.
here. We're in Blanchard, Oklahoma, everybody. So
That's right.
most people are used to me being in Chicago and around my Chicago peeps and things like that.
It's Boomer Sooner Nation around here.
Boomer Sooner Nation. It is almost football season.
Dude, one more week.
One more week and the Kyler Murray show is taking over.
And I'm excited for it.
Dude, I mean, he's making
I went to the spring game.
million.
So I went to the spring game. I go to the spring game every year. Ever since I got out, I made it a thing, because I used to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning just to watch OU play in Iraq. When I was deployed, I would stay up all night long just to watch an OU game. The way my dad would do it, I would have Skype on, and he would turn his Skype on and turn TV so I can watch the games.
Dude, that is a good.
And I didn't get to do it all the time. And because you're out, you have a job to do, so you have to go out and do stuff. But the times that I did get to watch it, I stayed up. I made sure that I stayed up just to watch it.
Yeah.
So I love it. So when I came back home, I made sure that I go to the spring game, I go to games, so that I can enjoy that one thing. Because when you're deployed and stuff, you need little things that kind of bring you back home, so you're not just so cold-hearted, and you kind of have little things that make you happy. So you gotta stay up.
That was one of the stories I was thinking of, is like when we would all kind of hang out, because there was like a core 4 or 5 of us.
Yeah.
But we could never get you to come watch a football game with us, and I think a lot of it is because nobody wanted to hang out with Jack when watching an OU football game. I think that's what it was. Like, we had people that didn't just want to be around.
He was intense.
Shout out to Jack, but he's intense, especially if OU loses, which is rare. But
that's the way I am now. That's the way I am. I get so intense about it now that I don't like going to watch games. I like to stay here at my house and watch games or listen to them on the radio. It's hard for me, like we were talking about, it's hard for me to watch OU games now because I'm a huge hunter. And so I try and I'm usually hunting during that time. But no matter what, I'll listen to them on the radio. But these 11 o'clock kickoffs are just killing me. Like last year, it was all like early games last year, and it killed me. And so I was listening to it on my cell phone and sitting in the tree stand trying to kill a deer. So I literally killed my deer killed my couple of deer last year, and I was listening to OU game.
I mean, I've been guilty to listening to podcast deer hunting.
Dude, come on, you got to entertain yourself somehow.
I know, but I like, kind of like meditating. I like the way nature is. So
Once
I get enough of that, but then, once you get like later into the morning, it's usually early in the morning. I'm good. Yeah. I enjoy nature.
Well, it's the prime time. I love it when nature wakes up.
Yeah.
I love it when everything starts coming alive. And then when you get around 11 o'clock,
I was going to say about 10,
you're just
10:30.
Like, dude. And definitely if there's not any movement. Like if you don't see anything all day, you're like, man, today sucks. But
yeah, but you don't want to give up.
Yeah, you don't. You're just going to go out there. Yeah.
And drain your phone battery. Yeah.
Yeah, I've learned the ways. You got to get that external battery so that you can listen to it.
I'm still an amateur in that department.
Dude, I've been hunting for a while. Ever since I got home, I didn't hunt in North Carolina while I was stationed at.
We've been hunting since we were kids.
Yeah, and really. Yeah, you didn't take it serious then, No. It's kind of just like a hobby. Like, it was a thing that you did because your friends did it. You all go out and, do hunting or whatever.
But I think, between all the families, it was really just you and I who our families would go hunting.
And then Kyle would.
That's right.
He was, and then there was a couple. Yeah, but us 3 would definitely go out. Definitely doing duck hunting and all that jazz.
Yeah,
it was something that you had to get used to.
But I want to go back to a couple of childhood memories here, and then we're gonna get to the good juicy stuff. And I was thinking about this because growing up, and the listeners are gonna see a picture. I'm gonna post it on the social media sites and stuff for Head Kick Radio. But Adam and I think we still look alike even now.
Dude, you use my ID as a fake, or use my ID as a fake ID
all the time.
Yeah, I remember I gave it to you, and I just went and got a new one.
You're a little over a year and a half older than me, and we were in the same grade.
Yeah.
But the teachers all the time would call me Adam. Like, they would get mad, and they'd be like, Adam. And you wouldn't even be anywhere around.
I wouldn't, yeah.
And I would be like, why is Adam in trouble? Like, what's going on? Then, of course, they come grab me by the ear or something. And like, come with me. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that was me.
We definitely got mixed up a lot.
But, like, even when we played, like, Little League sports, basketball, baseball.
I think the only thing that was different was our number.
Yeah, it was. And we're always on the same team.
Always.
Like, whether it was, like, your dad was coaching. Like, I think your mom coached us in basketball one year, wasn't it?
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
And so,
dude, that was a long...
We were on the same team. But, like, we even fought like brothers kind of growing up, too.
We really did.
Like, we'd be...
all the way up till... High school,
yeah.
Yeah.
High school right before I moved away, yeah.
Yeah. What I don't remember what year you moved away. What year was it?
Our junior year. But I quit playing football freshman year.
And that's when I quit playing baseball.
Yeah, and you played that one season.
That one season, I quit after that.
That was what was wild is because, like, I mean, I was good at football, but football was your sport.
I didn't get to play football all the way, like, I didn't play Pee-wees or anything. 7th grade is when I started playing football.
Mine too, because my mom and dad wouldn't.
But I played.
The same childhood.
Yeah, I played every freaking, like, any baseball league that was open, I played in it. And so
or basketball.
Yeah, I quit playing basketball. Well, I guess 7th grade. Yeah, 7th grade. Yeah, I was like, I couldn't do it.
The same things.
Yeah, I couldn't do it anymore. And then whenever I got to freshman year, and I was, I fell in love with football after that. Just I don't know if it was the violence of it all, but I definitely enjoyed that. But and then baseball, I fell out of love with it because I was playing it so much, just got burned out.
Do you know why I quit football?
Why'd you quit football?
Sonny Vermillion told me that I need to quit football and focus solely on baseball because I was going to go pro out of high school.
I would have told him shove it.
Well, I knew I was good. Because you remember our freshman year, I was always starting. They moved Sewell, the only senior, to the outfield and gave me his position. Mm-hmm. And then you were the only other freshman that got to play.
Yeah,
it was just you and
me. Yeah, and that's one thing. And I was crushing the ball that year. My freshman year, I don't know how many home runs I had, but I was crushing the ball. Dude, I was batting 4-hole because we had some good players on that team too. Ricky Darnell.
Well, when we got into high school, because you batted after me, because it was Ansley was 3, Ricky was 4, I was 5, you were 6, because you cleaned up after me.
I don't remember. I really don't remember. I remember I was hitting the ball pretty good.
But when Ricky got hurt, you jumped up in front of me because I stayed in the 5 spot. So that's when you batted 4 for a little while.
But yeah, it was. I enjoyed it, but man, you just fell in love with it, and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I remember I played that my freshman year, and then I quit, and that's whenever Coach K left.
Yeah.
All of them left and went to Washington. Or I don't know if
he didn't go to Washington at the time because I went there before him.
Yeah. But, you had a great coach. Coach V was out there.
Coach V, great human being.
And then I quit and went to football.
Because remember we got Coach McVay, and that dude kicked me off the team multiple times for trying to fight him.
He was a rough one. And then, so I just started playing football, and I loved it. I knew that I was really good at that, and I was like, well, I'll probably go, probably play college football after this. And then I remember my dad talked me into playing summer.
Keep it close to the mouth.
Yeah, I gotta get close to the mouth. My dad talked me into playing summer ball my senior year, and I went back out and I played that. And I remember getting like the sheet of paper, and you played the game like every day. I worked during the summer, and I was like, dude, I can't do this because I work. And I was like, I played like I played like 2 weeks. And then I remember looking over at the football field, and they were doing Summer Pride or whatever, and I was like, peace, I'm out. And it was a good decision. I got a scholarship to play football after that. Yeah. So I was like, man, I'm just going to go do this thing. So, but it was a good decision for me. I don't regret it.
Well, then you wrestled your senior year too.
I did.
You're a good wrestler.
Fell in love with it. The best sport ever.
Dude, I'm convinced, like, if I ever have kids, my kids have to wrestle.
My 5-year-old girl is going to wrestle next year. I think 5-year-olds, we got her in gymnastics this year. I was totally against having my daughter play sports like they're playing baseball or whatever, softball. But my daughter, I want her to wrestle just so that have that defense. The basic, and then she gets to know where her body's at. Yeah. It really shows a lot. And I when I started wrestling, I didn't want to wrestle, but my senior year we had a new football coach, and I could not stand that guy. And I almost got kicked off the team because I tried fighting him so many times. And I just wasn't.
We were the same person.
I know. I didn't. He wanted me to be the example. He wanted me to, and I wasn't going to have it. I was too hard-headed. I was like, dude, there's no way.
Yeah, there's other people you want to pick, coach.
Yeah, I'm like, you got to go someone else. Wrong tree to jump up. But then I had a great coach named Coach Erickson.
The wrestling coach.
And we're still good friends today. which he is an absolute monster.
I remember the first time I ever met that guy. He had a telephone pole that he carried around the back of his truck. And he was running the bleachers with it.
Yeah, he's freaking insane. He's a world champion bench presser.
Well, yeah, he was running the bleachers with a telephone.
You know, the first time I met him, I was at the gym at the field house, and he had so many 45s on that bar. He was doing some kind of shrugs. He had every 45 on him, bent the bar, and then I watched him bench that day, and it was over 500 pounds. He was repping it out, and I was like, whoa. I'm like, who is this guy, you know? And then he talked to me. He was a very good recruiter because, you know, the wrestling program wasn't that good at that time.
No.
And Zach was really, when they had the Barons and then Zach, and then, you know, Cody Hill was after that. But, so he was like, Adam, you're going to go play college football, right? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, you want to be a better athlete when you go? And I was like, yeah, man. And he's like, well, come wrestle. And I'm like, dude, I ain't wearing that tutu. You know, I was like, I was totally down.
Like, I'm not putting that thing on.
I ain't doing that. I'm like, it's my senior year. And he's like, but I could not be near that coach. I could not stand him anymore. I had to go. I was like, okay, I'll go. And so at that time, it was me, Scotty Vanderveer, and Tanner.
Yeah, that's Tanner
never wrestled. We all went and started wrestling and fell in love with it instantly. But I didn't want to go to any tournaments or anything like that. And our coach, this is how he got me to do it. He was like, the first tournament that came up, he was sitting there talking to me, and he's like, hey, you going to do this tournament? I was like, nah, I ain't doing the tournament. I don't wear that tutu, you know? I was like, if we wear shorts or something, you know, it'd be great. He's like, okay, pussy. I'm like, what'd you call me? He's like, you heard me? And I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy just called me out. So I ended up going and doing pretty good at it, and I was like, and after that.
Fast forward
to
the first time you put that singlet on.
Dude, it was rough. I felt so awkward.
Were you all alone in the room looking in the mirror?
No, I was not.
There's people there?
Yeah, you know, it's a wrestling tournament. You got no privacy at a wrestling tournament.
That was the first time you ever put one on?
Yeah, I was at a wrestling tournament. I didn't
wear them in practice?
I didn't wear them in practice. You wear sweatpants. You wear sweatpants, hoodie, because everyone's like cutting weight and doing all kinds of crap. So
did you wrestle at heavyweight? Would you wrestle?
No, I wrestled at 215, and I weighed in at 202. Like, I could have dropped down. Tanner was like 191 at the time, and that's where he wrestled at. And I didn't drop down. I just stayed. And that's one thing that Erickson was always about. He's like, I want you to wrestle your natural body weight. Kind of what UFC should do today.
Yeah.
Because they're literally killing themselves. But so I wrestled at 215 and did pretty good at it. You know, I made All-State, and which is one of the hardest things, you know, do.
And you did it all in 1 year with no previous experience. And we're talking Oklahoma.
It's 3 months.
Yes.
I did it in 3 months.
So that's why I want to say that's so impressive, because everybody knows that Oklahoma is one of the wrestling meccas.
It's I would say it's top 3 of wrestler states.
Yeah,
I think Oklahoma is.
You did it at one of the bigger school districts.
Yeah, we were still the small schools, because we were 3 at the time, so we weren't 4A at the time. But you talk about the powerhouses. We had Perry. I mean, Tuttle's always tough.
Tuttle's always good.
Definitely lately they've been killing it. But I mean, we had all these powerhouses that were in our district, and yeah, I got the phone call saying I made to All-State, and I was like, my coach called me, and I was like, you got to be kidding me, right? I was like, I've been wrestling for 3 months.
You're like, I don't even know what this means,
dude. I didn't even know the moves. So when I went to All-State, me and Zach McLeod, we both made All-State. And we both went up there. It was at OU.
I think Zach's been wrestling his whole life.
4 years old is whenever Zach started wrestling. And we went up to OU and did the whole thing. We went to practice, and I was practicing with guys that were 4-time state champs, 2-timers, all this crazy stuff. And they were like, hey, we need to do this move. And I remember I wrestled the heavyweight because it was 215 and then heavyweight. They didn't have a 225 like they do now. And so I was wrestling heavyweight, and this dude was jacked. I mean, he was tatted up all over.
How big was he?
He was jacked. I don't know. It was heavyweight.
I mean, did he have 40, 50 pounds on you?
Oh, for sure. I mean, because you talk about when you stop wrestling in high school, those guys just gain that much weight. Zach wrestled high school at 141. He went to college and wrestled at 140s. I forgot what that weight was, 145 or something like that. He weighs 190 now.
Yeah, see, my cousin wrestled. He was his senior year, he lost in the state finals to a kid whose dad was a 3-time All-American at OU.
Yeah.
And my cousin wrestled at 133, and he's now 185.
Yeah, you just blow up. So we had guys that came in when you had to do the weigh-ins at All-State. There was guys showing up, and they give you a 20-pound allowance. like for all state, because they know that people just blow up,
Right,
after
right.
it. Because, a lot of them don't have scholarships to go wrestle, scholarships for wrestling. I mean, you only take, certain many guys, you only have certain many weight classes. Yeah. And so we have one guy, I remember he was like a 112 pounder, and I'm pretty sure he was juiced out the gills whenever he went, because he weighed in 40 pounds heavier than what you're only probably 2 months out of wrestling season, but dude, he was like, for a little bitty guy, he was like all jacked up. And I was like, there's no way he weighs 112
So hang on,
pounds.
how did that all-state match go against that huge dude?
Oh, it was rough. So I wrestled a guy.
I mean, I know this story. You told me before, but listeners need to hear
it was rough. So after I stopped wrestling in high school, it was like a bender for a good while, because I wasn't going to wrestle anymore, and then I was just going to go. I was just playing football. I was going to Southwestern.
Let's segue into that. So being the same person that we are, you and I, like, we grew up, in our age group, like, how the girls supposedly passed the guys, like, they never passed you or I. We were always the biggest two people in our grade, like height-wise and strength-wise.
All the way.
Like, out of our grade, we were like the two alphas of the grade. And then Tanner, like, I'm gonna talk about him later. He hit a growth spurt at the back, like into high school, like sophomore, junior year.
I would say junior year he started getting real tall.
Then he transitioned and made us look small.
Yeah, he got.
But before then, like, we were just the two biggest dudes. We were like the biggest guys on the basketball team growing up. We were the biggest guys on the football team. We were the biggest guys on the baseball team.
I think when I power lifted my freshman year in high school, I power lifted at 248 pounds.
Was there ever a weight meet before freshman year you and I didn't place in?
I probably not.
Yeah,
there's probably not. I got a ton of those, but
I think there was one I didn't place in.
I really don't remember. I stopped doing it after my freshman year, though.
I stopped doing it after 8th grade.
Did you?
Yeah.
I think it.
But see, that's what I'm saying. We got after high school, like, I was kind of beating you on the verge of it. We got fat together too,
bro.
Like, we started gaining some weight.
Yeah. So yeah, when I left high school, I weighed in, because going to play college football, they weigh you and they do everything. And I went there to play linebacker.
Yeah, so Adam went to Southwestern Oklahoma State University in Weatherford, Oklahoma.
The focus is you.
Yeah.
That's their slogan. Yeah.
And there's some talented people out there.
We had a couple of people drafted. Jonathan Haggerty got drafted. There's a couple of people that got drafted out of there. And I went there to play, and I weighed in my freshman year, which, they weigh you in. They want you to be as big as possible. So I was like wearing my cowboy boots, jeans, and I was wearing everything. I was 226 pounds. Ooh. And so I went and do injury bug. I never had an injury before college. And then when I went to college,
you like broke your wrist like right away, wasn't it?
Yeah, broke my wrist. Had to have bone graft done. Had to have like staples, pins put in it. It was just a disaster of a beginning of my career. And then my sophomore year, shattered my ankle.
Yep, I remember when you broke your ankle.
And that was the nail that hit the coffin. I already had a couple of concussions at that point, and just the health part. I was just kind of done at that point.
Do you think you have CTE?
110%.
Oh man, that scares me.
There's a lot of stuff that I don't remember, and I don't know what CTE is truly. Like, I know what it is, but
you'll find out later.
Yeah, you find out later when they chop my head up and they scan it all. But just from the head injuries I've had, even this is like way off there, but even from jumping out of airplanes and stuff too, being knocked out on jumps.
We're about to get to. I can't wait for this.
But after that I was kind of done. But my sophomore year I was playing defensive end, and so from my freshman year to my sophomore year I got up to like the last time I weighed myself during football season I was 265 pounds, but I was strong. I squatted north of 650 and I benched over. It was like 420. I hit 420 for a double.
Yeah.
At that point, but I couldn't run 10 yards without like wanting to throw up.
No, the cool thing when you were at SWASU is like every once in a while you'd be like, "Yo, guys, we get the crew together and we'd all."
Yeah, dude, it party hard in Southwestern.
I was gonna say we would carpool out there. We'd be drinking on the way.
Dude, it was a good time.
And then we would cause trouble.
And that was a thing. That was demise of like my first time going to college.
I think we did it 3 times, and then you told us we couldn't come back.
It was a rough one. Inviting the boys from Blanchard.
Nobody can party like us,
dude. And whenever we went hard, and those guys, when you start partying around a bunch of alphas like college football players, you start poking the bear. And that bear is like literally a bear, like 400 pounders, you know, you're like, oh my gosh, you know, I probably shouldn't piss this guy off, but you do it anyways.
Because it'd be our small friends that would come with us.
Yeah, definitely Kyle always started
Eric.
it. Yeah, dude, always.
Oh,
But we always had a blast.
So I want to segue into this part. So I got, I was talking to Adam earlier. I was like, dude, I got bigger than you at one point, but and then I'm 205 now.
I'm 205 right now.
So you're 205.
I'm 205 in the morning time. So I don't know. And I eat a lot during the daytime, but I'm 205 in the morning.
Yeah. So that's why I'm just saying, like, throughout our life, like knowing each other since we were babies, we're the same person.
Well, we literally have gotten fat together, but we didn't talk about it, and then we got skinny. Oh, I wouldn't say skinny. We're 200 pounds. We're normal size.
We're telepathically the same, but here's where you surpass me, and I want to get into this. So, 21 years old.
That was a big one.
You decided that, all right, now I'm going to get serious with my life. I'm going to join the Army.
Well, yeah. So after I shattered my ankle and I knew that football was pretty much over for me, I always wanted to join the military. I had an older brother that was in the military, and he was in the National Guard. But
shout out Brian.
Yeah, Brian, love him to death. And so I didn't know where I was headed in life, because at that point I was on so many painkillers. I was literally like I met my wife and I was a drug dealer. I was selling my pills to all those football players and stuff. I mean, I didn't know where I was going. College wasn't where it was at, and I couldn't pay for it myself. And I didn't have any way I was going. I didn't know where I was going in life. And so I was like, I need to make a drastic change so that I can really get my life right. And so I remember my sophomore year, after that got hurt, I went and talked to a recruiter there at Weatherford, Oklahoma, and I talked to him, and I was like, oh yeah, this is probably something I want to do. And then I came back home because I left there because I couldn't stay there. I wasn't going to school anymore. I dropped out and came back home, started working, and I was working at the lumberyard.
I was going to say, I remember the lumberyard
and
job.
I was like, dude, this ain't for me. Like, this is like hard labor, And I, worked there for a little bit, and that's whenever I decided, I was like, military is where I want to go. And everyone's like, I always took pride in what my brother did, and I can see that the pride that he had in it, And I didn't want to do the National Guard thing. That was my brother's thing. I didn't want to do what he was doing. I want to do something, I would say better than him.
Yeah, but it kind of was.
But it is. You're like, I want to do something. I want to do this right. And so I joined, and it was the best decision of my life. Well, I advise people to do it. I can't tell them no, because I did it, and it was what made me who I am today. And I would never take it back. I take a bunch of pride in what, the things I've done, and success in my marriage, raising my kids and everything.
Yeah, it helped you. I think it made you, like, watching you and knowing me, you grew up a lot quicker. That was the difference between us. Like, when you started doing that, you grew up a lot quicker than I did.
Yeah.
I was still, a young punk, basically, up until like 25, I would say.
Yeah. Well, everyone has a different path in their life,
Yeah.
And that's one thing whenever I decided to do it, that's why I wanted to get away from Oklahoma. That's one reason why I wanted to go full time.
So I remember when you were working out for basic training, before you were going to basic, you came to us because, you came back home and we were still all kind of here. I was working construction at the time, living right next door to Tanner, and we'd have those big house parties. Still, you were still kind of, that's about the time you kind of stopped partying with us so hard. You'd show up, but you just wouldn't party with us.
I would literally work out before I come to the house.
And see, that's what I'm saying. So I think you're staying out, when you moved back, you stayed with your mom and dad for
I
a bit.
started staying
with my mom.
You
were running, like, is that like 2 miles to the gym?
That was 2 miles to the gym and then 2 miles back.
Yeah, so you would run 2 miles to the gym, work out for an hour and a half, sometimes convince Tanner and I to come work out with you.
Yeah.
And then run with you. So then we would go do like another 2 miles, and or maybe it was a mile. I can't remember. I was dead because I was overweight and it was not good. And then you'd run back home. Yeah. So you were running like 8
and
miles.
I would do this in sweatpants and hoodie.
So tell the listeners about when you went to basic training. And
so to tell you, I was like, when I go to basic training, I want to be in the best shape of my life, because it said it's going to be the hardest thing you ever went through, blah, 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 stuff like that. And this is 2 years of going to 2 years straight of going to 2 days in Southwestern. And I remember my first day of Southwestern workouts, I lasted 30 minutes before I threw up. 30 minutes. And I was hugging a toilet like a little kid. I was so out of shape. And so I was like, dude, I'm going to kill this. I was running 10 miles every Saturday morning. I'd run 10 miles no matter what. And they talk about the weight loss. I was 265 pounds there. I went to basic training at 185 pounds. And that was just, and I didn't know how to lose weight like the right way, like eating right or anything like that. I was addicted to Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
Cold turkey.
And you're eating crackers and stuff when I'd be around you.
Stopped it all. I cut all the crap out, but the only thing I knew how to do is put on a sweatsuit, put on hoodie and sweatpants, and go run. And that's how I started. And then after I lost, it takes a while to start losing weight, but once it starts flying, it went off like super fast. And it took me 6 months to lose 70 pounds. I went off, but my diet, I started, researching more about diet. And then I always knew that I had to work harder than more than what I ate. And so I just kept working. But yeah, I went to basic training, and so you get there at basic training.
Tell the story with the day when you walk in.
Yeah, so I'll just pass all that stuff. So first day of basic training, you have to walk up there, and they do the shark attack where they come out of nowhere and they all like start making you do stuff and hold your bags over here. They call it smoking you. And so I was like, okay, let's just get this started, And so we did that, and then they made us all go up to our bay, like where we slept and everything was at. And so we went up there, and they were like, everyone pull out your cell phones. And we pulled out our cell phones, like, call your loved ones. So I called my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, call my wife, and I'm like on the phone with her, and I look around, and these dudes are like crying. And I'm 21, so I'm a little bit older. And these dudes are crying. And I'm like, what is going on? My wife remembers this conversation. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, these dudes. And I didn't talk to her about like, babe, I'm going to miss you or anything. I was like, these dudes are crying right now. And I'm like, this is going to be a joke. And so I was like, well, love you. Talk to you in 9 weeks, and hung up the phone and gave my phone back. And I was just sitting there watching these dudes cry. And I'm like, dude, I understand they're young, but I was like, even if I was 18, I still wouldn't want to like cry in front of like dudes I don't know these guys. It's the first day.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. I knew them very well after the first day after taking a shower. But so I remember that night they just they smoke you all day long, and we, like I was talking about earlier, we had this big old guy that was this big guy was in there with us, and I'm not sure how he got into basic. He was probably like 6'5", 6'6", I'm like almost 300 pounds or whatever. But I remember looking at him, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, we're still doing push-ups. I was the only person to be able to do push-ups at the end of the day. And I look over at him, he's doing push-ups in his own puke. And I was just like, dude. And then I see all these people like doing, they call them chick push-ups,
with their knees on the ground.
Knees on the ground. Yeah. And they're trying to do that, and they couldn't even pick themselves up on the ground. And it was just, so I went in, I was 185 pounds. I left basic training at 205. So that's how much weight I gained.
I remember because we were having a party. You came over, and I think it was probably the last time we had a beer together.
Yeah.
And you came upstairs where a few of the guys were hanging out, and we're like, we had so many questions. I
was bald head.
We're a bunch of 21-year-olds. I think I just turned 21 at that point. So I think you left when I was 20. And I was like, man, how was it? And you're like, man, I got out of shape. Because, like, kudos to you. If it was not for you when I started working in construction, like, and being overweight and stuff, and after quitting college baseball, I would have never worked out if it was not for you. So I want to say...
Well, I appreciate that.
I want to say two things. I want to say, one, thank you for your service.
No big deal.
Two, thank you for keeping me motivated. And, like, in the transition of me getting back to where I am, I always thought about how you did it, and you were my motivation every day.
Yeah. And that's... Yeah, I appreciate it. I wish I was there to help out more,
But, yeah, so when we get back to that part, it was so wild that you came back and you're like, guys, I was getting out of shape but by the time we got a basic. Because, as kids, you hear all the horror stories of, like, basic training so hard.
Yeah, they don't feed you and those stuff like that. No, they shove food down your face.
Yeah, and you told me, you're like, I was eating more calories than I was burning.
Yeah, I thought, I'd eat a bunch of food thinking that I was going to, my brother lost 20 pounds in basic training. But he wasn't. He was younger than me, so he wasn't as like, I guess mature at the time before he went in. And so I was like, well, he lost a bunch of weight, so I need to gain, I'll probably lose some weight, whatever. But that was not the case. I remember I was working out during like nighttime. I would be like still working out at the end of basic. At the beginning of basic, they're smoking you all the time. And then at the end, you know, you kind of everything gets more relaxed and stuff. You kind of already know how the road, you know, how everything's going and stuff like that. So, but at the end, we would work out. There's a couple other guys in there with me, and we would work out there in our bay and do stuff like that. Because I mean, I felt puffy. You know, when I left there, because I left basic training and went to airborne school.
I know what you mean. When you kind of take a few days off, you kind of feel soft
my face was my face was fat.
Could you feel it in like your chest too?
Oh, I did. Arms? You know, I was like, I did not feel healthy. I really didn't. I was just like, because you know the food's not great, and you're eating MREs. MREs are just full of calories. MREs, meals ready to eat. You know, military eat them and stuff, and they're just full of calories just to keep you on the fight, keep you in the fight, and make you keep going. And they're just full of calories. And I just remember just feeling like putting on my uniform, and I just like, man, I just feel like I'm fat. Like I just did not feel good because you couldn't just go work out on your own. You know, it's basic training. They're monitoring everything you do, so you couldn't just go do anything on your own. And then you know that you know, you go and do your workout in the morning time during PT, and it's not. I mean, it's like body weight stuff, and body weight stuff does not work for me. Besides yoga, you know, but body weight stuff doesn't, like, not just. I need to do more than just
you were at.
Yeah, I need to do more than push-ups and like setups and stuff like that. I need to have some weights and a lot more movement, really.
So, when you were in basic, did you become like the platoon leader, or how would they call that?
Yeah. So you come PL and stuff like that. They go through a bunch of them because they want to put.
Oh, they want to test everybody out.
Well, so whenever they want it chaotic, they'll put someone weak there, and they'll make it like they'll make them do a big task, and they know that they can't finish it, and they'll just come in and smoke us because we didn't finish the task.
I was listening to a Jocko podcast, and he was talking about that, like when he became an instructor for the SEALs and stuff. Mm-hmm. He would say like they would have different SEAL teams, like while they were going through their training, that they would take the successful teams, they would take the leader from that and put him on the worst team, you know, in the standings or whatever they're doing, and take the worst one, put him on the best team, that kind of thing. He said, and you would watch the two teams flip roles. They would. He goes, and then we would know if it was the leader or if it was the other group. Guys. Yeah. Is that kind of what basic was too?
Yeah, it was. And I was like the PL for a little bit because I would just tell them what I wanted, and you gotta. You know, leadership's everything. Definitely to me nowadays, you know, leadership is everything for me. But you gotta know your task and know your people, and you pick the right people for the task. You know, so I would just tell them what I needed, and if they didn't get done, I would get someone else that did it. And after that, I didn't get to do it anymore because they want chaos. The drill sergeants want chaos. They want you to be out of your element.
They wanted to know what you're going to be like in battle when it's
chaotic. They want to break you down and then build you up. And that was one thing that, you know, I was 21, and you got to learn how to take your emotions out of a situation. And I had a bunch of young guys in there that just get caught up in that. And I had Sandvin, real good buddy of mine, and he would get caught up in that, and I'd be like, hey, bro, just pump the brakes. Look at the situation that they're in. Why are they wanting us to like freak out right now? I'm like, just calm down. It's going to be all right. Dude, and I had a drill sergeant's Cavazos.
Did you have a nickname?
I did not. Everyone called me Wayland. I mean,
just by your last name.
Just by your last name. That's all they know yet. So, drill sergeant Cavazos. So before I left for basic, I started doing jiu-jitsu with Tanner and them on the wrestling room, and so I was like getting into that pretty hard. And Danny my brother was a boxer, and he was teaching me how to box. So I was like, man, this is pretty fun. So drill sergeant Cavazos, we call it combatives in the military or the Army, and we would do like fight nights in our bays. And there was a guy there that said he was a professional fighter. I don't remember who it was. And we would always roll around, and I was, decent on the mat. I didn't like being on my back. I learned how, I was a wrestler. So, I could take someone down. And so they're like, Cavazos was like, got that guy and was like, hey, I want y'all to fight. I'm like, sweet, let's roll. And I did an arm triangle in like probably 15 seconds. And this dude's bicep was bigger than my head. Like, he was a huge guy. He was a big dude. And I choked him out like super fast. And that was like, and after that moment,
little Mexican supplements in his body.
Yeah, probably so. After that, Cavazos became a friend of mine, and he was my drill sergeant. But I knew that I was a little bit different than everybody else, or some of the other guys. And he would wake me up in the middle of the night because he knew I loved watching fights. And he would wake me up in the middle of the night and let me go to his bay and watch UFC fights on TV.
During basic
training. That's like a thing. Not a lot of people get to do that, and I got to go do that. He'd wake me up every now and then. He'd wake me up, and he'd be like, "Hey, wait, there's some fights on. You want to watch it?" I'm like, "Sure." And I would go in there, and I'd be super awkward because I didn't know what to do. Like, I'm like, this dude, like, for reals. And he would sit there and like let me watch those fights.
Dude, that is awesome.
It was pretty sick.
That is amazing.
It was pretty sick. And I got away with a lot of stuff. Like, if they were about to get smoked, like the platoon was about to get smoked, they would call me into their office and they'd be like, "Hey, act like you're typing on the computer." And I'd act like I'm typing on the computer, and they would go and smoke the rest of the platoon. It was like a weird deal. Those guys are like my buddies, I guess. I don't know. It was a weird deal.
Well, maybe they just really appreciated the effort that you put in. And I think my mic is coming in a little low here, so I apologize, everybody. No, yeah, you're coming in hot, I think.
Okay. My button was hitting something.
So you were getting special privileges. Wasn't there an older guy in your basic platoon, like that they call grandpa or something? I remember you telling me the story. Like there was some guy who was like,
yeah, he was
like 33 or something.
Yeah, he was an older guy, but he was he reclassed. So he was like a mechanic before, and then he switched to be 11 Bravo.
Oh, okay.
And he was, but you know what? He was one of the fittest guys there.
Was he?
Yeah.
He held his own.
He held his own. He was probably like 5'2".
So
super short.
Back to this party when you come back and we're asking you all these questions. I remember being blown away because that's when you told me that you wanted to be an Army Ranger at the time. Like this is before, becoming a sniper and all that. And everybody nowadays that are, like that's listening to the podcast, like they know the Tim Kennedys, they know the Chris Kyles, all the famous snipers out there. Like snipers weren't cool back when you were kind of doing it. I mean, like that's like
really Chris Kyle. I mean, after everything happened, kind of put it on the map. I mean, everybody knew that we were out there.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it wasn't glorified.
It wasn't glorified.
But you said something to me that blew me away. You said, "Yeah, I want to go to Ranger School, and then I want to and I can't remember. I'm going to butcher this, and I apologize to all the military people out there, but it was something after Ranger School, and you wanted to go Halo, and you wanted to jump from like those super high altitudes, not just jump out of planes and be an airborne ranger or whatever. You wanted to jump from places you're wearing a mask.
Yeah, which I never got to do that, but it is what it is. I mean, just your career takes a turn. Like you get to do certain things, but yeah, I wish I was able. I have friends that got to do that.
So talk about jumping out of airplanes, because I when I'm sorry tonight, I was talking to Dad because I have a friend. She's been trying to talk me to jump out of an airplane for quite a while now because she absolutely loves it. And I've flown commercial quite a bit. And every time I hit turbulence, you want to see old Steven's face turn red and just start clenching every muscle he has. You just watch us hit turbulence, and I'm thinking to myself,
it's going
today, I'm 29. I'm like, there's no way I'm jumping out of an airplane because I don't have the cojones.
I don't like riding on airplanes, and I've jumped out of over 30 of them.
So expand
So
on
yeah,
that.
I went to basic training, and I didn't have an airborne contract whenever I went to basic training, and I earned it through going through basic training because they give out, at the end of their basic, they'll give out slots to good soldiers, and I earned it in basic training, and so I went to airborne school and did the whole airborne school. You jump out 5 times, but I got my bell rang pretty hard. I don't know if I got knocked out because I don't really remember a lot of it, but my second jump in, I smoked myself pretty hard.
When you hit the ground?
When I hit the ground. Because it's designed, that parachute with T10s, they're designed to get you from A to B as fast as possible without killing you pretty much. And I rocked myself pretty good, but graduated there, and then I had a choice at that point. I could go to 82nd Airborne.
How long was it airborne or Ranger School? What was it called when you went?
That's just airborne school.
So how long was that?
That's 5 weeks.
5 weeks?
Yeah, that's 5 weeks. And so I had 2 choices at the time. I can go to RIP, which is like go to Ranger School and go to Ranger Bat, or I can go to 82nd, and then they were deploying shortly after that. And really my biggest thing when I joined was, I want to go to war. I joined the military, I didn't have learn a trait. My trait was, learn how to kill people. And so whenever you get done with basic, you're like, man, you're in your piss and vinegar at that point. I'm fired up. Let's go to war. Let's get this going. And so that's what I did. I went to 82nd Airborne and deployed literally 3 months later. No, 2.5 months later.
So how long was your first stint, and where was it?
I went to so I deployed, and then I was in Iraq. I went to Iraq, and we moved a lot in Iraq. And then Baghdad, Taji, Al-Assad. Al-Assad was like the first place we stayed, and it was just terrible. And I'm so glad we moved. We didn't stay there very long. That was my first time I ever experienced a sandstorm, and that was pretty crazy. Because we got there at nighttime.
Can you see during a sandstorm?
No, you can't see nothing. You have to wear
you see in front of your face,
like you can see like here, but you can't see far. It's
you couldn't see your buddy 5 foot away.
No, you couldn't. It's just it gets so dusty. Like you'll have we lived in chews. We call them chews. They're like a Connex with air conditioners and beds. And how there's like little cracks? There'll be like a little 4-inch thing of dirt, like a pile, with those hourglass, sand dials. It looks like that. Like it's just like a little pile of sand that just comes in those little cracks and piles up. And that was the first time I experienced one was there. And I remember I was wearing clear eye pro. I had a walk in it, and I can hear rocks hitting my glasses, like little rocks hitting my glasses. But yeah, so we arrive at nighttime, and I remember the next morning. I woke up because someone knocked on my door, and I opened my door, and I felt like I was blinded. I felt like I was literally on the sun. It was the brightest day ever.
It was the brightest sun I've ever seen.
It was so bright, and it was so hot. That place is so hot. But yeah, I was there for 10 months, and I was in deployment.
Did you just work out on your downtime? And
yeah, so you go on missions and stuff.
Were your missions a lot at night, or were they during the day?
A lot of both. A lot more nighttime missions and stuff, obviously, but we moved during the daytime too. We moved around a lot, helped out, as whatever we can do. We pretty much, my company was jumping on every mission they can go. We went out every day, and I felt like sometimes I'm like, dude, I just want to chill out, because we would do a rotation too. At one point we were doing rotations where we would do 1 week of nights and then 1 week of days, and that was terrible. I wish we would just stay on nights, so we didn't have to go back. But we were going out and doing patrols and stuff. I mean, as often as we could.
How hot do you think was the hottest day you experienced, if you remember it?
Dude,
was it 120?
It was above that. I would say 130s. And then you're walking, it's melting your shoes.
Full BDUs or whatever.
Yeah, you're in your ACUs, you're in all your ACUs, kit and all. And it's literally like you're walking on the sun. It's so terrible. I never wanted to go back there.
How could anybody be in a happy mood?
Kidding. You're not.
I mean, how could you be nice to your buddy next to you?
Because your boys is all you have. I mean, your boys is all you have. So you're the guys there are suffering with you. You can make, you become really close to those guys. Those are the brothers that you'll never forget. All those guys that I've got to know, I'll never forget them, because they are your brothers. No matter what, you might not like some of them, but you had to rely on them.
Or you respected them because they had to have your back. You had to have theirs.
They were right there with you. So you had to get along. I mean, you didn't have to get along with them. Everyone's not going to get along, but you have your clique that you stay with. You have your real good friends that you work out with, and you talk to all the time, and you do stuff to make it humanized, kind of break the mood up and stuff like that. We had Sergeant Payne. It's from West Virginia. He's maybe 4'11", and he sounds like this.
No, he's like, hey boy.
He's like, oh, dude, he's a character. Loved him to death, man. One of the biggest freaks I've ever met. He was probably 150 pounds. I watched him bench over 350.
Oh wow.
The dude was just yoked up little pissed off chihuahua. I mean, he's like, meh, meh, meh. That's what he talked. And I remember one. I'll tell you one memory I have of him over there. We were on patrols one night, and we were in the truck, and we were listening to the radio, which you're not supposed to do, but we had like a little, everyone has those headphones on because the trucks are so loud, and he had a headphone taped to it, and he was listening to the radio, and he turned that radio off. He's like, well, that's the first for this one, boys. And we're like, what's that, Payne? He's like, I just jerked off under nods. Because nods are night vision. And his door was open, and no one knew what he was doing. And we were just waiting to go back. And he's like, I just jerked off under nods. And I died laughing. It was so funny. But he was a character, man. He was one of the good ones. I worked out with him quite a bit.
I feel like I'd be the most inappropriate person.
No, there's no such thing as inappropriate in the military. There's
I got
nothing.
In the wrong line of work.
There's nothing that you can do that I literally. Oh God, man, stories here they come. I had a buddy.
This is why we're doing a podcast.
Yeah,
let them flow.
So we had this is going to go forward into the career of this, but I had a buddy one time send me a video, and I'm like looking at it. And I'm like, what is going on in this video? And I'm looking at it. It looks like skin. I'm like, what is going on? And then I see him take a big old shit. And I'm like, that's literally his butthole. I'm like, he literally just filmed himself taking a big old deuce, and he sent it to everybody. I'm like, there's nothing inappropriate. I've seen the worst of worst. I mean, there's nothing, because you got to entertain yourself. You you got to entertain yourself. And
I've got a friend now who Snapchats me him taking a poop every day, Monday through Friday.
Yes, Jordan Dahl. Yes, he's one of those guys that does that to me. And then, was it Zuba? Zuba was the one that videoed him taking a poop like that.
Man, I would definitely be that guy that would be doing inappropriate stuff and saying inappropriate stuff. I would be the guy who also got us in trouble, like with the commanders at the time, like by not shutting up and saying things I shouldn't. Yeah,
well, you learn when you can and when you can't. You got to really earn, like, once you've been there for a little bit in your unit and stuff. You have like respect, people respect you for what you've done and stuff, or who you are as a person. I always kept it real. I never would, never blow smoke up someone's butt or anything. So I would just keep it real. And, I'm from a small town, and that's the way I acted. Like, I didn't act like I was bigger than what I was, and I would come to work every day. And I always wanted to, there's some days where it's like, there's a lot of nonsense that goes on, like a lot of just stupid stuff that just goes on. But
it's a bunch of young kids getting into a line of work that's so dangerous, but yet you have to be an adult. You have to, serve this country. But at the same time, you're still that kid.
Yeah, you really, some kids, and I think what helped me out too is that I was older than those new guys that were coming in. And
so you got to watch them do things. You're like, that was me 3 years ago.
Yeah, I'm like, I was just more mature than them. And I just, kept my nose clean and just did my job as best I could, And I was, right whenever I got there, I was already known as like the strong guy, So I'm gonna turn this down so it keep going off. But so I, was carrying all the most stuff. I, workhorse. Always wanting to work, do something. And so I enjoyed it. But yeah, those guys, there's nothing inappropriate. You do some of the craziest stuff with those dudes.
So on your first tour that you're just talking about, was that before sniper training?
Yeah, that was before sniper school.
So it was right after airborne.
Yeah, right after airborne is when I deployed. And then so after I got back from my deployment, so like we talked about earlier, my brother and I were both deployed at the same time. He was in Afghanistan, I was in Iraq. And at this time I was in Taji whenever I got word that he got blown up. And I got word because Red Cross wouldn't message me because we were both in combat zones. And so I didn't get a phone call from Red Cross. I got a message on Facebook from my wife and saying that my brother got blown up. And it took 2 days for me to know that my brother was not dead. Because at the time, they didn't know if he was dead or alive yet. And then we, obviously I got to go out and do my job and stuff. So I go out and then I come back home and finally got the message saying that he's good and he's messed up, but that he's good. And so that was December 8th, I believe. It's my mom's birthday, and I believe that was the day that he got blown up. So yeah, so that was on, and then I came home on December I was coming home shortly after that.
Were you scheduled to come home, or did you get to come home early?
No, I did not. We were already scheduled to come home.
Okay.
And that I couldn't leave because after I found out he's all right, I talked to my first sergeant and stuff. First Sergeant Soto was, super cool guy. He was one of my workout partners too. The dude was huge. I don't know what he was on, but it was that Brock Lesnar stuff that make your head grow. And he was just a big dude. But so I went and talked to him. He's like, well, we're already, we're scheduled to go home. So, if you want to, we'll just wait. He's like, if you just wait, I'll hook you up whenever we get home. And I was like, okay, cool. And so I waited, come home on December 21st, I think it's something like that. And North Carolina, my wife was the only one there. I came home with Green Ramp and stuff. And I spent Christmas with my wife. And then my unit hooked me up and sent me to Fort Sam Houston. That's where my brother was at. That's where he was getting care and stuff. It's a big medical center. They have one if you get hurt overseas, you're going to go to Maine or Fort Sam Houston. It's the two biggest ones. And so I went and stayed down there for about a month, and which was the best thing that could have happened to me.
Did you just sit with him? What
yeah. So I was there for his caretaker, but I was just coming off my deployment too. And he was coming off his deployment. So we would sit in a room, it wouldn't be going on. We had nothing going on, but we would just be sitting there talking, And it was the best way to come home from a deployment, I think. Just talking to your other brother that just came.
Sharing the stories.
Yeah, sharing stories. And then, really getting yourself back into civilization, You get, pretty cold-hearted and stuff like that. You really lose how to, love something while you're overseas. And, being there with him, going out with him, and really, I would say I helped him get better, but I didn't do anything to help him get better. When his wife was down there, he was still in the hospital, and he had shrapnel from. So he got. I'm gonna tell you what happened to him. He was in Afghanistan, got blown up. So we have these big mine rollers on the front of our vehicles, the MRAPs and stuff, and he was backing one of his trucks up, and he got out of his truck and he was backing the guy up, and it blew up 5 feet. He was 5 feet from the mine roller, 8 feet from the IED. So it threw him down a ravine about 50 feet. And he told me a story. He said he woke up and he was on his face, and he pulled his head, got up and was pulled his hands up, and he was he saw blood. He couldn't see out of his left eye at the time, and all you see was blood. And usually whenever an IED goes off, it's, definitely in Afghanistan, not in Iraq, but if IED goes off, it's going to be an ambush. They're going to, ambush, are going to big explosions, get you disoriented, and then attack you. And so the first thing he thought of, this is what he's telling me, he's like, well, I got to get out of the kill zone, because they call that the kill zone, because, he's out in the open. So he got up and walked up, and by the time he got to the top of the, where his trucks were at, the dust was clearing up, and he come walking up, and his guys thought he was just gone, evaporated. They didn't know where he went. And then he said, I didn't feel like I was going to, die at that point. He's like, the only time I felt scared was whenever the helicopter came in, and the pressure of the helicopter hitting his chest made him freak out a little bit. He's like, this might be it. But it didn't, but he had shrapnel from the head, so it hit on his right side, and he had shrapnel from head to toe. And his safety glasses, he was wearing Wiley X's, saved his eyes. He had a big chunk of rock go through his arm, and he still has shrapnel in his body today. But so when I went there, he was still in the hospital, and he was on a wheelchair. And because the TBI, the head injury part of it all, his brain was really swollen. He was real slow, about things. And I got there and started taking care of him. And I just didn't baby him. His wife, I love her to death. I love him to death. But she was really doing everything for him. And I was like, well, you're going to do it. Do it yourself. And just slowly, got better and better and better. We got out of the hospital, got into a hotel room, and we stayed there. And he had a minor stroke and stuff. His gallbladder went bad. And at nighttime, we were pulling little pieces of shrapnel, rock and stuff.
That were surfacing?
They're pushing themselves out. And he had to get one removed out of his jaw that was too big. He was chewing. It was in his way of chewing. So he had to get that one removed. And but yeah, he got better. But it was the best way to come home from deployment, is spend that time, that month with my brother. And then I went back to my unit after that. And that's whenever like, you know, going to sniper school and stuff like that was like one of the things I wanted to do.
You were telling me tonight earlier that changed you, and you know, the decision for sniper school, like that really kind of helped.
Yeah, man, this is my brother. You know, it could have happened to any of my brothers. You know, those guys you played with, those are your brothers. I mean, but that was my blood brother. And so I was really...
Yeah, that's the guy you grew up idolizing.
Yeah,
and
he's the reason why...
I grew up idolizing.
Yeah, he's one of the reasons why I joined the military. You know, I saw how much, you know, he loved it and the respect and stuff and the pride that he had. And I really wanted to, you know, go back and do my job. And but at that point, you know, volunteering and stuff like that just didn't, you know, bad chain of command, bad leaders. Well, just one. And wouldn't let me leave or anything like that. So, but I did have some good ones. And at that time, when I first got back, I was moving up rank in my platoon, and I was kind of like stagnant. You know, I kind of liked it where I was at. You know, because you get comfortable.
Yeah. And
we had a sniper section there, and they were doing tryouts because guys were leaving, and I was like, in our section leader, you had to try out to even go to sniper school. He didn't send you to sniper school, and if you passed, you're in section. No, you had to try out for sniper school or try out for section, because he only picked the best guys, you know, and because you only want the best guys working. It's a specialized thing, so you only put the best guys there. And I didn't sign up at first, or first told him no. And then his name is Erickson. He was actually from Oklahoma. He came up to me and he was like, "Hey, you're what we want. You know, we want you. You know, we want a guy like you." And I was like, okay, well, I guess if he wants me, then I guess I'll go over there, you know? And so I still had to do the tryout, and I went and did the tryout. The tryouts were like a week or two long.
I heard you get 4 chances to pass them. Did you pass on the first try?
4 chances
to pass in sniper school. Like
this isn't even sniper school.
This is still
this is a tryout to even make it to sniper section.
So this is like you get 1 shot.
Yeah, so there was probably like, you know, 12 guys or whatever, 10, 12, 15, whatever guys go out. And they were picking 2 guys at the time. And, man, we were doing, you do the PT test, you 12-mile ruck, you do like all these different like shooting stuff. And we do an obstacle course, and I had a bad ankle, you know, through college. I, you know, shattered it. And I sprang it real easy now because there's nothing left inside there.
It's not the same.
It's just a big ball of just goo.
You need some stem cells.
Yeah, I wish I could.
Stuff.
Yeah, I would take it. Go down there and get some shark stem cells. But so I remember going through obstacles and I sprained my ankle, and I finished it, but I was hurting pretty hard, you know. And the guy was like, you know, Adam, you don't got to do it anymore. And so I made a section after that. And then that's whenever you go to sniper school after that. And you do so like certain things you have like. So stocks are the hardest thing to do because you're crawling for so long, and you learn patience very fast during stocks. And so when you go there, they teach you how to do everything, like get your ghillie suit and you do the ghillie wash. You can pretty much watch it all on YouTube. It's literally, it's pretty close to it, you know, but the stocks are very hard. They're like 1,000 meters crawling, and you really got to be good. Those guys they're instructors, that's what they do for a living. Is spot guys out in the field. So if you stock up and you don't have your vegetation very good, you know, they're gonna bust you, and they're gonna fail you. And you get 3 chances to pass stocks. They give you 3 chances. You have 2 practice, and you have 3 chances. And they call it G1.
And that's where that's where you like go hide when they're not looking, kind of thing, and you shoot, and then they try to spot you.
Yeah, they try and spot you. So you crawl to your FB, your firing position. And then you set up all your stuff without being detected still, and you take a shot. They give you numbers, like whatever number you are in your class. I think I was 32, and so they say even odds you have the passenger or driver, and that's who you have. There'll be 2 guys in the back of a truck, and so I remember I shot the driver. This is just G1. This is the first grade exercise for that, and I shot and. I remember I shot through I was behind a bush, but you don't want to look like what's in front. Like you want to look what's in front of you because that's the way they're looking. So I made my ghillie suit look like a bush, and leaves are so unpredictable. I can't even say it right now, but I shot, and the gases from the the rifle blew a leaf right down in front of that guy's face. And I was like, oh, piss. I can't see the guy at all. I can only see his chest, or like about mid belly. Well, luckily, so I call it out and I'm like, driver. And then one of those, not the spotter, but one of the walkers will walk up, and they have to be within 10 feet of you. So they'll sit right there and they'll be like, they'll call it up on the radio and be like, hey driver, I got a guy here for you. And he'll start waving his big stick, and he'll be like, okay, I got you. He's like scanning, and they'll sit there and scan that entire, and these binos are massive. They're huge. And so they can see like a fly at 1,000 yards. Like they're big old binos. And they sit there and they sit there and scan, and then they'll walk that walker onto a spot that they see that does not look right. And if you're within 12 inches of that spot, you're done. But then you have to shoot, and then they say he'll walk a guy up on there, and he'd be like, okay, and he'd be like, you're there or not. And so I wasn't there whenever he walked up onto me, and he was like, okay, where do you want it? You can have the number or letter in front of his face or in his chest. And whenever he brought that number up, I could see it on the way up to his chest, and I was like, I don't know what it was, like bravo, and I called it out. And he's like, good ID. And you have to exfil out without being caught too. So you have to crawl back out of where you're at with all your gear. You can't leave anything behind, stuff like that. So it's very intense.
So you got through it on the first try.
First try. You get your two practice ones and your first try, and I got through it on my first try.
That's impressive.
Yeah, for a guy that's 6'2" and weigh 200 pounds. I was one of the biggest guys there.
Dude, that is super impressive.
It was fun. Sniper school was one of the best times. It was one of the best times.
Did you deploy though as a sniper after that?
No, I did not. I did not deploy.
So I knew because you were telling me you tried.
Yeah, I tried. So, and after that, I went to a couple of different schools and stuff, and I was really wanting. I didn't join the military to stay and train. I joined the military to deploy. Definitely I got one job. Let me go do my job. And at that time, we had new leadership coming in, and me and him just didn't see eye to eye. And I volunteered 5 times to go back overseas, and he denied me every time. Because he was wanting me to take over our sniper section, and he denied me every time I went. And which really just put a bad taste in my mouth. Why would a leader of men want to hurt someone else's career?
Especially when you want to go.
Whenever you want to do something.
Yeah, be in the thick of it.
Yeah, so that bad leadership taste in my mouth really just ate at my soul, and I just really couldn't get over him. And but I did have a choice, to leave. Well, I didn't really have a choice. I got accepted to Corlers, which is I had a buddy, Jordan Dahl was in it, and he got me into there, and I got a letter of acceptance to go over there. And they told me that no one could stop me from going over there. They were going to Kosovo for a year for a surveillance mission. And I was like, perfect. It's not Afghanistan, but, it's still deployment, and it's still going to be something sweet, surveillance for about a year. And so I got my letter of acceptance, went back over to my first sergeant desk and gave it to him. And he told me I wasn't going effing nowhere. And then after that, it just went uphill from there, or went downhill from there pretty much. And so I had one other choice. At this time I had my wife and I had my daughter. And, once you have a family, it really starts eating at you because you're training all the time.
Yeah, you're always away from home.
You're always away from home. My first year of marriage, I saw my wife for 2 months. For my first year of marriage, and that's through deployment and all. And so it was really rough on the marriage. And we had to sit down and, for me, I didn't want to be selfish. I loved my job. I loved my career, but I really had to think about her and then my daughter. Was, what, I was going to let her be raised by just my wife, or was I going to be a big part of her life?
Right. And then after watching what your brother just went through, you're like, man, that could easily be me too. Like that.
Yeah.
Like, was that ever a thought in your head? Because that would be a thought.
I never thought about it. I never thought about that. I don't know. I never thought about it.
And I mean that from like the family standpoint, because I understand like if we're single guys, like that would be one of those things.
Dude, if I was single, I wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah.
I really loved it.
But I mean like as a family man, because like you think about things like I don't even think about because you have a family to take care of.
Yeah.
Or help take care.
Changed my life. Yeah. And I did. I had really, I had to come to agreement with myself. Like, could I live with myself if I stopped doing this? You know, the pride that I have from it, I really, you know, had a lot of pride. Definitely when you come like small towns. I'll tell this story to everybody because it was one of the most emotional times of my life whenever I came home on R&R from my deployment. I came home by myself and I had to go through customs in Texas, and I didn't know what was going on. And this was after 7 months of my deployment. And I remember coming through customs, and I asked the lady, I was like, hey, where do I need to go? Because I was there by myself. And she was like, oh, follow the roar. And I was like, okay. So I can hear like this roar sound. So I started walking down this long road, like aisle, and I came around the corner, and there's lines of people like clapping and cheering. And you could just come from a place that has no emotion to nothing but love. Dude, it like I had to go back inside because I like, whoa, I don't know what to do. Because big crowds, you know, freak me out, you know. And so I had to like go back inside, like sit down, because I was almost crying. I mean, so much love just come out of my body because I wasn't prepared for it at all, like mentally wise. And I remember walking through there, and I had like all this food and water and stuff. And I just felt so much love from these random people. It was awesome. It was one of the best experiences of my life.
See, that because everybody knows that follows my Instagram and stuff. Like, I just finished American Sniper.
Great book.
And Chris Kyle was talking about, you know, like, we don't do this for the appreciation of everybody.
No.
So like when people would thank him and things like that, he goes, I almost didn't know how to act.
You really don't. Like, whenever you said it to me earlier, I'm like, oh, I wish I could have done more. You know, like, I really don't know. I'm like, oh yeah, you're welcome. You know, I did it for you. You know, we don't do it just for, you know, the recognition of it. I love this country. This country is, literally the best country on earth. Yeah. I love this place.
See, you know, growing up, half my family's Catholic, and you know the saying, it's God, family, country. Mm-hmm. You know, for most people, I would say in this world. But Chris Kyle's kind of saying, like, for at least the people in the SEALs and stuff, and I'm assuming for in Army and National Guard and Air Force and everything else, I'm sure it's the same. But I was like, those guys talk about like they get two of them flip flop. It's, you know, it's God, country, and then family. Yeah. So like having having a wife,
very selfish,
and having a kid, and you know, having these troubles wanting to do other things, when it came time to re-enlist, like was family a big motivator?
Family was the biggest thing. Me and my wife weren't having troubles. You know, I was addicted to NyQuil. I couldn't sleep and stuff like that when I first got back, but I was taking NyQuil overseas too because I couldn't sleep. So everyone was taking it. I mean, it's just a weird thing in time. So I was just down at NyQuil every night just to go to bed. And when my daughter was born, my wife woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I just took NyQuil at 1 o'clock. 3 o'clock in the morning, my wife wakes me up, said my water broke. And I just downed a freaking ton of NyQuil. You know, I'm like, I'm all out of it. You know, NyQuil really does get to you. And I was like all out of it when I drove to the hospital that night. And so I was just like, you know, I loved my job. I loved the people, but I love my wife more. I love my wife more than anything in this world. You know, I love my children. I love my wife more. My wife's been through everything, and you know, she never complained. You know, she knew I had a job to do, and I'm a very demanding husband. I don't slow down for anything. I'm always like we were talking about earlier, I have a goal, I'm going to set it and I'm going to do it. And if I don't do it, and if I come short of that goal, I'm the hardest critic on myself. You know, I am down. Like, I will like beat myself up because I did not do that goal, you know? And I'm the same way with my wife. You know, I have real high goals, you know, and she sometimes she meets them, you know, sometimes she don't, but you know, I'm a hard person to live with, and she stays with me, you know, so that night when you had to drive her to the hospital, did that like make you want to kick that NyQuil habit? Yeah, I kicked it quickly after that. And even I was still drinking at that point. But I was only drinking whenever like my wife couldn't drink, you know, and definitely with my, you know, my kid, I could never live with myself if something happened. And that's the reason why we texted earlier and you asked me if we can get a drink, because I don't drink anymore. Just because of the fact, if I get drunk, there's might be a chance that I cannot protect somebody or my family. Definitely my family first. But if I can't protect my family or somebody. I'm always going to be out there, and I train for it. I train for like the weirdest things, just so I can, just in case I have the opportunity to save somebody, I can do it.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I quit drinking.
Do you still do like any kind of training today? Like just to stay up on it, like whether it's firearms training?
Oh, I train all the time. Not just, you could train anywhere, train in this house, turn off the lights off, clear this house. You're the one that knows your house, you don't need lights on to clear your house. Yes, a robber in here or something like that, clear your house. And I sleep naked. I'll get naked. I'll turn all the lights off and I'll clear this entire house.
Naked with a gun within reach.
Naked and gun. That's right. And, you're always training. I have real good buddies that live up in Tulsa. Both of them are, one of them was a sniper section with me, and the other one was my armor. And those guys come down here and we train. I have real good friends, Scooter Till and Joe Fleming. They both have a bunch of land out here, and they let me set my targets up. And I go out there. I got a range out to about 600 yards, and we'll go out there and shoot still. And I'll teach those guys, stuff. If they want to know, I'm always willing to help out. You should be able to protect your family no matter what.
Right. See, and I'm big on that. Me, I have no military background.
Yeah.
That's just stuff, my brother being a police,
for
being
sure,
a police officer and things like that. Like, being around I have, uncles that, were in the Army. I have, both my grandpa on my dad's side was in the Navy. My grandpa on my mom's side was in the Army.
Yeah.
So my mom kind of grew up in the opposite. Like, she's like, no, my kids are not going to be in the military, because my mom's hardcore Democrat. I'm a blaster right here.
Yeah.
And
it's okay.
So she was very,
everybody has their rights.
Yeah. She was very anti-Bush. So like, maybe if Obama was president, then she would be like, okay, guys, it's okay to go be in the military.
Yeah.
But no, because of Bush, she was like, no, it wasn't happening. But talking about like making a 600-yard shot, like some people are like, they're like, oh, well, if you did sniper school, that doesn't sound far. But like, if anybody's ever gone hunting, the farthest confirmed kill on a deer that I've ever had in my life, because I had the rangefinder with me, was 236 yards.
That's better than me.
In western Oklahoma, where everything is flat, and there was no trees in my way.
My farthest shot's maybe 75 yards.
But I was going to say, I see, most of mine are within 50.
Yeah.
I smoked so many deer within 50 yards. How is like going through that process, sniper school and all that, like how's that changed your hunting?
Oh, it changed my hunting because I spent so much money on my rifles now. So like
they're just all decked out with top-notch gear.
Yeah, I mean, if you do it for a living, you're gonna have a sniper rifle. Every sniper that gets out is gonna build a sniper rifle. I mean, it's just part of you. Definitely, if you're serious about it, you're gonna spend a lot of money on it.
I've got a Remington 300 mag, Winchester mag. There.
See, I have the one I built it off was Remington 700 308. I'm a big 308 fan.
So is Dad.
Yeah, just because 300 mag, it's great round, better ballistics than a 308, but the price difference is just god awful. So
I've shot one deer with it, and I blew the whole. It was a bad shot. I blew the whole right shoulder off of it.
Yeah,
and it I scoped myself with it because it kicks like a mule. And this is back when I was younger. I was a teenager, and we'd go to the range and I would shoot that thing, and if I shot it 16 times, I'd have the blackest shoulder from a bruise, and I would scope myself at least 3 times and have a cut above my eye. And my dad's like, son, maybe we should tone down and get you a smaller weapon. So he ended up and got me this sweet Howa 270.
Oh, yeah?
And I've been just, it's not even fair. I like to bow hunt now because it's not even fair to deer hunt.
Yeah, and that's one thing I do feel bad whenever I go deer hunting too. But you know what? That meat feeds my family. So
I know. It's the best.
I eat nothing but game meat. I do eat chicken, but my brother Brian, the one that got blown up, we started raising chickens, or I would say I didn't raise nothing. It was out of his place, and I helped him butcher them though. So I got my chicken for them. But all
as long
my
as
meat,
you're getting the eggs, reaping the rewards.
Yeah, I know, right? And then, but we butchered those chickens. Well, he has eggs. He has chickens for eggs, and then he has chickens that we butchered.
Oh, okay.
So he has both.
Does he ring the necks and all that, like old
school?
He
gives me the eggs and stuff like that.
No, but does he ring the necks like when the ones that he butchers, like
oh no, so you have it looks like a funnel, and you just put them upside down inside there, and you just cut their heads off, and then they bleed out right there. You just let them sit for about 5 minutes, let them bleed out, and they'll be kicking. When they're done kicking, then you can pick them up. And
my dad would tell me stories. His grandma, I think it was either my mom or my dad, but one of them was telling me a story that their grandma was so gangster, she would wring their necks.
Yeah, that's my grandma. Yeah, I do.
Off. Your grandma did it too?
Yeah, she'd grab that. My dad won't eat chicken today because they had so many chickens.
Oh my goodness.
He will. I had him over.
The bodies would walk around for a little bit without
yeah,
their heads.
He would. I'd be like, hey, Dad, I'm barbecuing some chicken. He'd be like, oh, well,
we're getting into
some.
total bro talk here. I love this.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I won't eat that. And I was like, well, he would eat it, but he wouldn't eat very much of it, just because of his childhood. They kill so many chickens and stuff like that. Maybe my grandma and grandpa, raised in a Great Depression, so
yeah,
all that stuff. So they lived a different life.
I couldn't imagine living in times before ours. We have it so easy,
dude. We really do, and that's one thing that scares me too.
But you went and made life hard for yourself for a few years.
You live in your times. I talked about this with Zach, a couple times, because you live within your times. Like, hard people are just naturally hard. Like, if we had hard times, we would be hard.
Oh, we would tough enough for sure.
People are survivors. They survive. And it's a mindset. If you're wanting to survive, you're going to survive. So I say that we do live in easy times, and I'm grateful for the times that we live in. But see, that's what if anything happened, that's what
blows my mind, about you and people like you, and even the more extreme versions of you, right? Is like you still train to keep your family safe, to keep your community safe, keep your country safe.
And I'm glad I live in a small town. I have a good communication with the police department, with some of the guys up there, and the fire department. And I'll go up, and I've trained a couple times with the fire department. I thought it'd be cool to be a fire department. That's my oldest brother's deal. I don't want any part of it because that's his thing. But I'll go up there because you never know whenever you're going to pull up on a situation. You got to be prepared. For me, I have to be prepared. I cannot sit there and watch someone die.
Well, see, I want to take that back to our childhood. Remember how many times we would party and we would watch people overdose? We'd watch people get alcohol poisoning. You and I have a personal story I won't blast my brother out about, but we had to end up take him to your dad.
Oh, yeah.
Keep him alive.
Do I remember that? I do remember that,
so your dad even taught us how, I'm going to put it this way. Your dad taught me that night how to keep people alive, and I've saved at least 5 or 6 people from overdosing on ecstasy and alcohol.
Yeah, that was a crazy night.
I learned a lot from your dad that night. And I couldn't. And I remember your dad. Your dad's a lot like my dad. Like sometimes, he won't.
They're rough. They're rougher guys.
Yeah, they won't give you the compliments. Like when you're playing sports and this and that. Yeah. They expect you to do a good job. And be good humans. Yeah. But I remember your dad that night. It was one of the very few times he just looked at us both and he goes, "You boys did the right thing."
Yeah.
And I mean, it was one of those when your dad said that, it sunk in. That was it's a forever memory for me now.
Yeah. And my dad, my dad was a rough man. He's had a rough, upbringing and stuff like that, and my dad I listen for his advice all the time. My dad's body's broke down now. He can't walk around very well and, do the things that he does. But at this point in my age, I'm 30. I don't need my dad doing anything for me. I want to know what he knows. I want to know the knowledge that he knows. And he might not be the smartest person in the world, but life experience goes a long way.
Yeah. Your dad was always doing something. Maybe an OU football game is the only time I ever saw that man sit down and
my dad's worked real hard, and he's just about to retire. 36 years working the same job, DOT, and he's been hit by cars, been drugged by vehicles and all kinds of stuff. And mad respect for that man. Sure.
And mad respect to your brother Danny too for being a fireman, and especially your brother Brian. Brian, thank you for your service as well. I want to jump back onto the PTSD segue that I almost took earlier when you're talking about it, having a goal. So now that you're out and we were talking earlier, do you think that is something that we should probably preach more, instead of saying, hey, you potentially have a diagnosis? Instead of saying that, should we be encouraging all the veterans coming back and trying to integrate back into society of hey, find your goal, find your why, find your reason?
You can't so I've done I'm in school now, and this is my last year before I graduate, and I've done research on the PTSD, because I feel like everyone definitely has PTSD when they come back, and everyone, it doesn't matter what you've been through, you're always going to take an experience differently from me and you. If we went through the same thing, you can take it different than me. You don't know how you're going to react to a certain thing. And the PTSD is, for me, first of all, those kids that are coming home and stuff, put down the video games. I don't even watch shooting movies before I go to bed.
You don't watch action movies anymore?
I not before I go to bed.
Okay.
Because I don't want to have night terrors or anything like that. Because if I'm visually watching it, I'm very into it.
You are what you consume.
These guys are coming home playing these video games and stuff like that, and they're going home, like going to bed, and they're having night terrors and stuff, and they can't sleep, and just they just need to set a goal out. Like, I have to have a goal. I have to keep moving forward. I do not look back at what I've done or what I've I do, but just from my mistakes. You got to learn from your mistakes. But for me, I got to keep going. I'm always moving. It's exhausting for my wife. It's exhausting for me because I don't sleep in. Whenever I first got home, my first goal was get debt free. So the only way I knew how to do that was work. I was working over 80 hours a week and going to school full time. And I would stay up for 3 or 4 days straight, just working nonstop. I would go to one job to the next. And I did that for 2.5 years. And I would get deathly sick. Like every 3 months, I would start throwing up, and I would throw up like that entire day, and I would sleep for 2 days straight. And then I would wake up and I'd go back to work. I'd do it for another 3 months and happen again. Did that for 2.5 years.
Until you figured out, well, if I don't work myself to death.
Yeah. But you know what? I can't say don't do it because I did it and I paid off a lot of, everything I own. And I was like, now I can chill out. I can not work if I don't want to work on this day or whatever, but for me, that was my biggest goal, go to school. Because that's when I was getting out. I was like, I have to finish school. I have to set an example for my daughter that I'm not the smartest person in the world. But I had a great professor. Shout out, I don't know his name, but shout out to that dude. Sweet dude. He goes, you know what college is about? He was a young guy too. He's like, it's not about how smart you are. It's all about how hard you're willing to work.
College, maybe it's because I'm about to graduate in art school. And art school is different than regular school. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I figure out if you just put in the effort to do the work and turn it in on time.
Just show up.
And just show up to class. Like teachers, professors, they respect that so much and they're going to pass you. Just
act like a normal person. Just if they ask you a question, answer it. If they have class, just show up. If you show your pretty little face at class every day, you're going to pass.
And and that's what's so funny is like when we were talking earlier about like I feel like the military helped you or made you grow up quicker than I did.
Yeah. And when I first went to school, bad mistake. Was not ready for it. I was there to party, and just have a good time. Same reason
I quit college baseball.
Yeah, it's the same reason. Besides the injuries and stuff, yeah, it wasn't for me at that time. And it's still not for me. I don't enjoy going to school just because I don't enjoy listening to someone else talk about their opinions. It really just, oh man, it's hard. When I first got back, I got in fights with professors. I almost got kicked out of OCCC because I got in a fight with the professor. And at that point I said, hey Adam, you have to be here. So just pump the brakes. Listen to what that guy has to say. Do whatever he says.
You got to play the game.
Just play the game. And then you'll never have to see him again after this semester. And and I was, at that time, it was bad mistakes I made, but he was in the wrong too, But he was a professor, I wasn't, so he has the last say so of that stuff. But I almost got kicked out of it. But I had to realize, like, hey, this isn't, a pissing contest. Just listen to what this guy says. But that's one reason why I don't have, I don't like going to school either. I don't really care about his opinion. Just teach what you're supposed to teach, and teach like both sides of the story. And let that person let the students
them decide
figure out what they want.
Yeah.
I don't care what you believe in. Just believe in something.
Well, I think that's a lot of, I don't want to go down that tangent, but
I know
what
we can
society
go down.
is now, like we're in the, let's just point the finger and cry wolf and, blame other people, that kind of like, let's be a soft society. Like I'm not happy about it because that's not what we grew up in.
No, man.
And especially it's not what you went and fought for.
I
mean, but then again, maybe you did. Maybe some people are fighting for that freedom just for anybody to live however they want.
I fought for this country.
Yeah.
I didn't fight just for individuals. I fight for everybody here, but this country and what it stands for. So if I want you to believe in something, I want someone in this country to believe in something. Don't just wake up and just breathe. Be something.
Yeah.
Everyone can be something. You know, and that's what people have to realize. Just be something. Be better than what every day. If you wake up and say, I'm going to be a better person than I was yesterday, you're going to be something.
Yeah.
You're going to be successful. And surround yourself with those kind of people.
Exactly.
You cannot hang out with freaking people that are just have one foot in the grave already. You know, you got to be with someone that is just as motivated as you. Because if you're not, then you're not going anywhere.
No,
truly not.
You're going to be stuck in the same place, just doing circles.
Yeah, and you're going to hate your life. Yeah, but you gotta have goals. You gotta have goals, and like I said, you gotta surround yourself with people. But the PTSD thing, yeah, I believe that those, you know, it is a thing.
So just like you would encourage them to just be like, hey, find what you're passionate about. Find something that you feel good about. Whether it's helping somebody else, whether it's helping your family, whether it's helping yourself, like become a better person. Whether it's just reading books, writing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's picking up
and don't be too big for an opportunity. Yeah. A lot of those veterans, you know, when they get out or wherever, they get back from war, they're like, well, that's below me. You know, nothing's below you. No one's below you. You know what I'm saying? There's always an opportunity. If an opportunity presents itself, take it. You never know what that's going to lead up to. You never know what it's going to do. Whenever I got home, I started doing personal protection, and you know, next thing I know, I'm working for billionaires. Just because I'll take a job. Didn't know what I was going to be doing or anything. And I said, and the guy asked me, he's like, hey, would you like to work this? This job turned into this job. Next thing I know, I'm working for billionaires. You know, and that's just like, I'm glad I didn't say no. You know, I could have been like, oh, that job's not for me. Was it just security or whatever, you know, on a person? Who cares about that person, you know?
Yeah.
No, just go up there. If you're going to get paid, you're going to get paid.
All you know? I want to wrap this up with two questions, and they're kind of far apart. One is, what would you do differently in your life, in any point of it, whether it's, you know, as a kid, in the military, now, and what does the future look like for Adam Wayland?
Dude, what I would change was absolutely nothing. Every step I've taken in my life led me to this seat talking to you right now, and everyone I've ever influenced or anything has led up to, you know, what I live in. You know, so I'm never going to take back anything, what I've change anything. Yeah, I probably hurt some people's feelings growing up. I'd take that back. You know, treat people with more respect. I would take that back. But anything like big decisions I've made, I wouldn't change anything because, you know, you can't live in the past. You always got to look forward. And all you can do is fix what, you know, tomorrow is. You know, you're going to be the better person. And then if those people are still around that you did hurt and they can come around now, and they can see that you're a better person, then you really got no reason to change anything in the past. And for my future, man, I want to help as many people as I can in my life. I want to influence people in the right positive way. I want to influence children, like a lot of kids, you know, raised without dads, and I want to be able to show them what a man should look like. And I say that what a man should look like is because I have a daughter and I have a son. My daughter's going to pick a man out one day that's going to be like me. So for that reason alone, I have to be the best man I can be today because my daughter's going to see that. I have to treat my wife with respect every day because my daughter's going to see that. And I want her to pick a man that's better than me. So if I set the bar high enough, then she has to pick something higher than that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And and I hope my son, my daughter, my wife does the same thing with my son. You know, but even with him,
she's setting the example of like, you know, you know what a future wife should be. Yeah. Yeah,
you're always going to pick what that is. But I want to influence as much people as I can in my life, and I want to be able to help anyone. And I pray that I never leave an opportunity behind. You know what I'm saying? Like if an opportunity is there for anything, that I take that opportunity. Is it to protect somebody? Like anything. It's I want to take that opportunity, and so that I won't have regrets. You know what I'm saying? And I think opportunity, if you take that opportunity, have the the courage to take that, it's just going to lead to big things, for sure. Man. Let me switch on you. What about you?
What about me? What's in the future?
What's those two questions? Let me know.
Man, if to go back, I would. I would change, not like big events, but I would change the attitude. And this is personal. Like this is like me being an ass to anybody else. I wish I could change my attitude, the way my mind worked back then. And like to have the motivation of, being a healthier person, being a kinder person, being nice, just more nice to people that, probably don't even deserve to have niceness thrown at them. Like now I just throw it at everybody. Like everybody gets, something nice from me. They're getting a smile. They're getting something. I wish the younger Steven would have done that. Yeah. And still been tougher at the same time. So like that's one thing I would go back and change, but maybe that's just because, it's hindsight now. And it's something I'm trying to project forward and where I'm going. What I want to do is it's a lot of the same. Like I want to change people's lives. Sitting here talking on this podcast, this medium right here. I am going to school for like television and more video and stuff, and I'm doing a lot of audio things now separately. And I want to grow something like this so I can talk to people like you and let them, get their story out, just so other people can hear that you're not alone in this world. Yeah. Like you and I can sit here and, like as much as we laugh and stuff and say we're the same person, like I looked up to you. We're like, even though you're a year older than me, we're the same grade. I still looked up to you. I look up to Tanner. I look up, to everybody that we hung out with. Like it's that what we were just talking about. Like you are what you surround yourself with. Yeah, true. We were around a lot of bad stuff. We were around a lot of alcohol, a lot of drugs, a lot of fighting, a lot of really poor decisions, just whatever we're doing. Like I don't want to, give out all of our bad stuff here. Yeah. But
we didn't make good decisions.
Yeah, but I think we made a lot of good decisions in bad moments. Yeah. But like we still had a core group. Like we were all progressing towards something, and then we had like some stragglers. There were some outliers that were in our group that were not so good people that we finally, kind of trimmed the fat and got rid of them. And then we all went our own separate ways. But that's where I want to go going forward. Is I want like to create a platform for people, kind of like the Joe Rogans of the world, Jocko Willink, all, like all these vets and stuff like that are doing positive things to help the community and help the country and things like that. Like, I kind of regret that I didn't join, a military service and help the country. So
but that's one thing I can say about that. I have a lot of people that ask me about that. They're like, well, when do I join? Because I want to, contribute something. There's different platforms for everybody. Everyone, like, I know Gabe's not here, but I talked to Gabe about it, and Gabe was like about joining, and I'm like, Gabe, you already do. You already give back to your community.
Yeah, he's giving nutrition advice, personal training advice, like helping, and I was hoping Gabe would show up so we could do one with him. And that's kind of like what I'm thinking now. Is like I can't give like to my country in that sense, but I can give to people even around the world with something like this. Like if you're in Africa, if you have a phone to listen to a podcast, you could listen to this thing because I'm up on all major platforms. But that's where I want to go with it. Is like I want to create something, no matter whatever it is I'm doing in life. I want to be able to create video content, media content, just so people can hear you, like your story. And the people that are going to listen to this, like I hope they reach out, to you, to me, and let And
I'm always willing to help.
Yeah, like, and just, like, do you even say thank you? Like, I just want people to know, like, you're not alone in this world. Yeah. Like, we've all made our mistakes, but I want to show you that we can come back from our mistakes and be something better.
Yeah, listen, I was selling drugs in my dorm room.
And then a year or two later, you're defending the country.
Yeah. And so, everyone makes bad decisions, and you shouldn't be held from your decisions that you made, a couple years ago.
Right. And now you're the best, the best family man you can be, and trying to get better every day, and you're helping the community. You're being a good friend to the friends that, want to still be associated with you and things like that. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's what we should all strive for. Like we got to start small. Like don't try to, I think my biggest thing is I try to conquer the world in one day.
Yeah. I always jump, through big, like dreams.
And you just got to realize, like, if you just made one person smile that day, like you've done your job.
Love your neighbor.
Yeah. And if everybody around you feels loved and safe around you, you've done your job, even though you didn't feel like you did anything.
If you can just earn their trust just a little bit, that's one thing. So some people just need someone to trust that they can count on. Yeah. It goes a long way.
And especially now in a time where, mental health is a big issue.
Huge.
But Adam, let's wrap this up. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for your service. Thank your family, dude.
Man.
I'm so, like, I wouldn't be the person I am today if it wasn't for your mom, your dad,
Oh, I appreciate
your brothers
it.
that I looked up to. I mean, Danny he was a little older, so he was a little removed, but like definitely Brian.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Yeah, man, I'm glad you're here. And like I said, whenever you ask me to do this, whatever I can do to help you out.
I appreciate
what I'm saying?
it.
I'm down to help out.
And I hope that whoever listens to this, it helps them out.
Yeah. Shout out to all the Bravo 4s out there. It's for the snipers.
There you
Bravo
go.
4s. Shout out to those guys.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. This is probably going to air on this coming Monday. So this will be, I believe, episode 15 of Head Kick Radio.
Listen to it.
Check it out. Adam, you got blasted out, brother.
All right.
All right, everybody. We're out.
See ya.
Say hello to the stars above.